In this video, I'm going to show you how to factor a trinomial where the leading coefficient is something other than 1. In this case, we've got a leading coefficient of 3, so this number times this number has to make 3. The only numbers that multiply to 3 are 1 and 3, so we can fill in the boxes with 1 and 3. Now, this box times this box has to make 8, so there are a few possibilities. We can have 1 and 8, or we can have 8 and 1, or we can have 2 and 4, or we can have 4 and 2. We're going to test out all the possibilities and see which one gives us this 14x term in the middle. First possibility is 1 and 8. So x plus 1, 3x plus 8. And when we multiply that out, we get 3x squared plus, there's our 3x, and then an 8x. Together that makes 11x plus 8. Now, 11x doesn't match up with the 14x, so we know that this is not the factored form of the polynomial. Now, let's try it with 8 and 1. X plus 8, 3x plus 1. Makes 3x squared plus, this is 24x, and then 1x, so 25x. Again, that doesn't match up with the 14, so cross that off. Let's try x plus 2, 3x plus 4. That makes 3x squared plus, this is 6x, and then 4x makes 10x plus 8. Nope, still not 14. And it's got to be this last one. That's the only remaining possibility. X plus 4, 3x plus 2 equals 3x squared plus, this is 12x, and then 2x makes 14x plus 8. There we go, matches up. So this is the factored form of the trinomial. This was kind of a pain, listing out all the possibilities and then just computing them and seeing which one matches up. There's a smarter method called factoring by decomposition. In factoring by decomposition, our goal is to split up the middle term such that we can factor the resulting expression by grouping. The trick to doing this is that we need two numbers that add to 32, and then they have to also multiply to 5 times 12 is 60. So in other words, we need two factors of 60 that add to 32. So let's try some out. 1 and 60. When we add those together, we get 61. But that is too big because we want 32. So we need to find a way to decrease this number. How about let's make these numbers a little bit closer together. How about 10 and 6? Now when we add those, we go down to 16, but we've gone too low. We need 32, so we need to go back up a little bit. So how about making 2 and 30? Now when we add those, we get 32. Great, that's what we want. So 2 and 30 are the numbers that go in here. 2 and 30. Now, these two terms, we can pull out an x to make x times 5x plus 2. And these two terms, we can pull out a 6 to make 6 times 5x plus 2. Now, we can factor it by grouping. X plus 6 times 5x plus 2. And that's the factored form. Let's try an even tougher example. In this expression, we've got some bigger coefficients and we've also got some minus signs. The first thing to notice is that each coefficient is even, so we can factor out a 2 from everything. 8 now becomes 4x squared. Minus 14 becomes minus 7. And minus 30 becomes minus 15. Now the problem is just to factor what's inside the parentheses here, which is a little bit easier than what we started with. So let's write this in decomposed form. We'll write our 4x squared, then plus something times x, then plus another something times x, then minus 15. And we have to figure out what two numbers can we put in the boxes such that they add to negative 7 and they multiply to 4 times negative 15, which is 60, negative 60. To start off, we can try 6 and negative 10. Those multiply to 60, but when we add them, we get 6 minus 10, which is negative 4, which is a bit too high because negative 7 is lower than negative 4. Alright, so we just need to make the numbers a tiny bit further apart. So let's try decreasing the 6 down to 5, and then 5 times negative 12 makes 60. Now 5 plus negative 12, or 5 minus 12, that's negative 7. There we go. We've got it. So these two numbers are what we're putting in the boxes. 5 and negative 12. Now we can group what's inside the parentheses. So in these first two terms, we can pull out an x times 4x plus 5. And then in these two terms, we can pull out minus 3. So minus 3 times 4x plus 5. And now we just have to factor what's in the parentheses, which is easy now that we see it in this form. So 2 times x minus 3 times 4x plus 5. And that's it. We're done. Factoring by decomposition is really useful in general for these cases where the leading coefficient is something other than 1. And that's because instead of checking all the different possibilities for factors, we can just test an initial one and then update that test according to whether we're too high or too low. And that lets us factor the polynomial a lot faster.